about? Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
All right. How you doing, folks? Ron Raymond here from the Raymond Report for a Thursday. It is a thirsty Thursday. It is December 15th. Hope you're having yourself a good start to your Thirsty Thursday. As always, don't forget, subscribe to our channel by tapping that notification bell in the top right-hand corner, or hit the subscribe button below this video if you are using a mobile device. Today's podcast is brought to you by your good friends right here at hockeypicks.com. Sign up today and follow the top hockey pickers each and every day at hockeypicks.com. Don't forget to try out the calculator at atscalculator.com, and you want to check out all the calculators, and especially with the NFL, college football, you want to put in the teams, and it'll give you what we think is the closest number that you can beat the bookmaker with, and that is the atscalculator.com. And the World Series of Handicapping Pro Football Contest season number 11, and there's our leader, Kobe Ryan W. He's been up and down. He's like a bungee cord all year, but you know what? Hey, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and Kobe Ryan W. is 58, 38, and 2 on the season, plus 95.3 units, and the season champion number 9, Still City Madman, that's Frank Browning from Pittsburgh, and you can see he's got a 59, 37, and 2 record, and he's just right behind him at 93.2. So we got a great, and there S Diddy's at 92. So we got a 3-horse race right here, and you want to check it out. They got about 3 weeks left, and we'll be looking forward to seeing their picks the rest of the way. All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good night wherever you are located on the World Wide Web. My name is Ron Raymond, and today, like every Thursday, I'm joined by my good buddy wearing his Buffalo Sabres hat, and there's Ross the Boss Benjamin. How you doing, Ross? Oh, can we hear Ross? Oh, just one sec here.
Can you hear me?
There you go. There he is.
Yeah, the last time I wore a Buffalo Sabres hat on the show, they followed that up by losing 8 in a row. So
you still got time to take it off.
Yeah, well, I switched hats here. So, I went from this new one I got from that one,
Oh, that's a nice one.
Hey, we'll mix it up a little bit.
You know what? Growing up, Buffalo, Chicago, two of my favorite logos in the NHL. I don't know what it was. It was just something about the Buffalo with the 2 swords. It was such a great logo, right? I'm a big logo guy. I always have been. But how's Ross the Boss on a Thirsty Thursday?
Oh, busy around with the Christmas holidays approaching, and as you well know, balancing family life and sports handicapping life and sports betting life at this time of year is very difficult, but it's not something we're not used to.
Oh yeah, no, it's once Thanksgiving is in the books, that's it. It's the 40 days of everything, right? It's just every day. It's just it's a grind, and that's why right now I scaled back the podcast to Thursdays. And I found that the energy boost is man, it's so much. When you do a podcast every day, it's taxing a bit sometimes, because you want to and you're just like me, you want to deliver a great product, right? You want to be on top of your game, and the energy level has to be there. Sometimes it's tough, sometimes to be 5 days a week, but you know what, it's nice to get a little bit of a break and recharge the batteries and go here on a Thursday. And man, I'm looking forward to today. We're going to talk about college football and NFL. Before we do, Ross, I promised the audience I'm going to show you. Can you let me see if I can. Man, I wanted to. Okay, can you see the browser in 1 second if I do this? Can you see the browser?
No.
You don't see anything, eh?
No, just you.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder why that doesn't. And okay, well, anyway, I'll. Let me see, Ross Benjamin. Yeah, you don't see the browser, eh? Just me? No. Okay. So what I did, Ross, is, once in a while I get adventurous when I see something that sticks right out. And I went to the ATS teams. I'm going to talk NBA for just a few minutes here. And I went to the top teams in the NBA against the point spread. And looking at some of the top teams like Utah, 18-12, Oklahoma City, 18-10, Portland, 18-10, Sacramento, 18-9, so on and so forth, right? So what I did is I went to the website, And if you go to our website on atsstats.com and you click the NBA tag at the top, you're going to see the title says NBA betting. And Ross, you've heard, like, man, you know me like the back of your hand. You know, perception versus reality, right? And when I look at the NBA against the point spread, and I said, okay, you know what? What's the perception out there of some of these teams when they're a favorite and when they're an underdog? And what I did is I split them up in 3 categories. The top 10, the middle 10, and the bottom 10. And when I found, it was just amazing how market psychology plays a big role in the sports betting. I know you're laughing because you agree with me, right? Right there?
Yeah.
And so when I look at the top teams, so look, for instance, the Golden State Warriors. So what I did yesterday, I went into my database and I went and grabbed every team in the NBA, and I said, when Golden State's a favorite, what's the average line for them as a favorite? And it was -7. And they're a team, like, I did the record yesterday, so they were 14. I don't know if they played last night, but it was 14-14. And how they are the team in the league with the highest perception when it comes to an average on favorites. Now, the sure thing, like, hey, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure out the NBA Finals champion is going to be a public perception favorite. But when I saw -7 and their point spread record is 12-16, and number 2 was Minnesota at -6.8. So what I did is I grabbed all their records, favorites and underdogs, and the average line as favorites. So I'll give you the top 5, and it's just, you're going to laugh when you see it because it's all what we call public perception teams, right? It's like in football. Whenever you got that star quarterback, you're going to get a bit of an influence on the line from the market psychology and the bookmakers. And so Golden State -7, that's their average line when they're a favorite. Minnesota -6.8, Milwaukee -6.4, Dallas -6.2, and Denver -6.1, with Atlanta -6. Now, when you look at all these teams I just mentioned, obviously, when you think of Golden State, you think of Steph Curry. In Minnesota, though, Cat's been injured a bit, but I don't know how Minnesota, they're, hey?
Yeah, that's a head scratcher because they did make the playoffs last year, but they've been hovering around the 500 mark and underachieving this year. So for them to maintain that type of average, meaning over -6 as a favorite, is a little bit mind-boggling. But the books must know something we don't know.
Yeah.
And what do you have the record as a favorite this year? In terms of ATS?
Yeah. So let me just bring this up here on this screen.
Yeah, in Golden State, I'd be interested to see what they are as a road favorite because I know they're very good at home. And I'm sure if you look at them as a home favorite, they're more closer to a -9 or 10 average than on the road, where I think they're going to be around 3 or 4.
Okay, so Golden State as a favorite this season. That's what you asked, right? Golden State as a favorite. This year, 12-9 straight up, 9-12 against the number, 13-7-1 to the over.
What about as a home favorite? Do you have that?
Yeah, as a home favorite, Golden State as a home favorite, they are 10-2. Yeah.
They for whatever reason, Ron, they've really struggled on the road this year. If you look at their home and away splits, they've been a fade on the road, and at home they've been a very good play. Obviously, you just mentioned what their ATS record is.
Yeah, that's what I call my Jekyll and Hyde teams, right? They're Jekyll at home, they hide on the road. 2-13 on the road.
That hasn't been the case, though. You know what I mean? In over the last 4 or 5 years, this is something new with this club.
Yeah. So the other team is Milwaukee, Giannis, Dallas, Luka, Denver, Joker, Atlanta, Trey. So those are just the favorite perceptions, right? And of all those teams that I mentioned, those 6 teams, so only, let me see here, just one team has a winning point spread record, and that's Milwaukee. So it just goes to show you, don't fall in love with names, fall in love with numbers. And I've been saying this, for it's one of the audience said we should get T-shirts that say that. Don't fall in love with teams, fall in love with. And when you look at, now here's the thing, when you look at the opposite scope, the underdogs, the top underdogs, Detroit +8, that's the average line when they're an underdog, +8.2. Houston +8.1. Orlando 7.2, Charlotte 6.9, and San Antonio 6.6. And of those teams, only Detroit has a winning ATS record. And when you look at the bottom, here's the thing though, when you look at the bottom of the underdogs, they're these like Boston, Milwaukee, Phoenix, these type of teams don't be underdog many times. So the occurrences are not there a lot, right?
Yeah, you have to have a sample size. You have to have an adequate sample size.
Yeah. So, bottom line, Ross, when I was doing this observation, it goes always to my Jerry Seinfeld episode of Even Steven, right? It's just, you lose $1, you pick up $1. The middle of the team packs is where I find in the perception versus reality world where you get more value. And when I think of like the perception of the like I'm talking about the Memphis, the Clippers, the Bulls, Raptors, Heat, Pelicans, Sixers, Knicks, Jazz, and Portland. That's when you look at the favorite angle. And when you look at the underdog angle, there's Utah, Washington, Indiana, Clippers, Sacramento, Atlanta, Golden State, Memphis. So a couple of those teams I've said it twice, right? So maybe there's something to that when you're handicapping. I'm a law of average guy. I'm a big, I believe in that. What goes up must come down. You buy low and you sell high type thing when it comes to like winning streaks. And but anyway, I just wanted to, you're the perfect guy to bring this up today because I always love to hear your input on just.
I would write that list down of the top the favorites that the average number on those favorites you just alluded to, the top 5, meaning 6 and above, I believe, starting with Atlanta and up. And then the same with the underdogs that are having success as an underdog. More so with the favorites because no, I believe you said only one of those favorites in your top 5, being Milwaukee, had a winning ATS record.
Correct.
So I would be interested when you write those 5 down, and when we talk a month later, I would almost venture to say the 4 with the losing ATS records in that bunch, you'll see a considerable drop. And when I say considerable, a point or two. Drop in their average average line as a favorite over the next 4 weeks, because it only stands the reason if we're seeing that, the general public's seeing that, and the books are going to adjust accordingly.
Ever since I've been into the stats and going back to 2004, one of my biggest challenges and just research and development has always been, what do you put more credence into? Like, do you put more into the after effect, like the reality of the numbers, the records, or the perception? Because in order to get a number, there's a perception out there of what the number should be, and it's like the caramel secret. How many times we watch a football game and say, I can't believe how these bookmakers just land right on this number. Like, it's just amazing the knack, the ability, the skill set that a lot of these bookmakers have to just land like. Their goal is to, get close to that number, but they're dead on sometimes.
Yeah, what I do, if you're asking me for my personal perception on that is I trust the number, meaning I trust the odds makers more than anybody in the sports betting industry to come up with a accurate number. At that point, then I look at perception. How many times daily do we look at the lines in each individual mainstream sport and say, wow, so-and-so is just a 2.5 point. Here's a perfect example. Look at the Cleveland Browns and Baltimore Ravens this week.
Yep.
Granted, Lamar Jackson's out, right, Ron?
Yep.
You have a team in week 15 of the NFL season with a record of 5-8 that's a 2.5 to 3 point favorite right now over an opponent in Baltimore that's, I believe 9-4. So, public perception would tell you that most people would say this is a no-brainer. You got to take the underdog with a much better record that's had a lot of success against the team they're playing against in recent seasons. Well, they're just not giving money away. So I'm trusting the number there. And then looking at the fact that I have to believe that the majority of money and bets that come in will go toward the Baltimore Ravens in this situation, just for the obvious reasons I just alluded to.
Yeah.
So it's just an example.
Hey, Ross, great example, because you can look at last week, Detroit, Minnesota.
Yeah.
I
was all over Detroit.
Oh, yeah. Last night in the NBA, the New York Knicks and the Chicago Bulls. Like, when I looked at it on paper, it's like on theory, from an analytic point of view, it's like, man, everything's was like magnet drawing me to Chicago. But there was part of me says, no, Ron, get off that game. This smells like Trapville. And sure enough, New York goes in there and goes overtime and gets the. Sometimes you see a number, like the old saying, when it looks too good to be true, it is sometimes.
Yeah, and it's very seldom the case in sports betting. Right?
Yeah.
So.
Hey, all that being said, follow your gut instinct sometimes. When everything looks too easy, go the other way.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're numbers guys. We're numbers driven guys, and we're statistical data guys, and we're betting angles guys. But sometimes save yourself the time, because if you see a number like that, I ran it through my database too, and I'm giving away pretty much giving away with one of my picks are going to be on Saturday in the NFL, but I ran it through my database and meaning the Browns and Ravens game, Ron, and when you have losing teams playing after game 12 of the season in the NFL. And they're facing an opponent with a win percentage of 692 or better, like Baltimore is, and the losing teams are a favorite of 3.5 or less. They're 9-0 straight up and 8-1 against the spread since 1996. Wow. Not a big sample size, because, quite simply put, there's not a lot of situations that come up like that this late in the year. And then if you just wipe out and just make them a favorite, not a favorite of 3.5 or less, they're still 17-4 against the spread and 19-2 straight up in that situation since '96. So, NFL betting history will tell you that when these types of situations come up, A, you should pay attention, and B, you should really strongly consider taking the losing team that's a favorite in this situation.
Absolutely, hey, man. Straight pearls right there. Hey, as our good friend Greg Dempson would say, just give them the pearls, baby. And that's what those are. Those are the pearls.
Among other things you would say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 3 in the morning. Hey, God love gamblers, man. Hey, God love gamblers. All right. Hey, Ross, I'd be remiss if I didn't say good morning to the bullpen. That's what we call our chat box, and Who's Mizzou's in the bullpen. Good morning, Who's Mizzou. Mitchell Watson, good morning, Coach and Ross. Good morning, YouTube crew. Good morning, It's a Maine's World. Jermaine Brown's in the house. Francisco Tabanico. Sea chickens versus whiners, says Francisco. And hey, Ron, says Jose Gonzalez. Good morning, bullpen. And if you got a question for me or Ross, just fire away, and we'll try to get it into the show here today, because once we get going, man, we're tired to get it's like two politicians, trying to get a word in. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. All right, Ross, let's stick to the NFL, and let's go to that game. You want to talk about the
one thing more, Ron, before we get to our games. The college football bowl slate coming up.
Yeah.
Be real careful, folks.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because it's not like years past. First of all, you're seeing big line moves, okay? And let me just say this. Ordinarily, when you see a line move, it's money driven, whether it be sharp money that drives the line one way or the other, or public money. But when you're seeing these big line moves in the college football bowl season right now, especially in the early part, they're not money-driven moves. You have to be aware of the transfer portal right now.
Yep.
You have to be aware of key players that have opted out for the NFL draft. And if they're opting out for the NFL draft, they're probably really good players, okay? And also head coaching changes. Here's a perfect example. Louisville versus Cincinnati on Saturday. Really odd situation, Ron. Scott Satterfield, who was the head coach of Louisville all season long, and Cincinnati's head coach, Luke Fickell, who's had a tremendous amount of success at Cincinnati. Luke Fickell decides to go to Wisconsin. Head-scratching move, but leave that as it may, okay? But who takes over for Luke Fickell at Cincinnati? Scott Satterfield. So Scott Satterfield won't be coaching Louisville in this game because he's jumping to Cincinnati. And who's playing each other? Louisville against Cincinnati. Louisville, okay, the players have expressed their displeasure against their former head coach because they had to find out he was leaving through Twitter. Now, motivation's a big deal during the bowl season.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Now, I got to believe that Louisville is going to be highly motivated to play against a team that their head coach they had all season long left to go to. Those types of situations. You're looking at college football quarterbacks. Spencer Sanders opted for the transfer portal. Drew Pine in Notre Dame opted for the transfer portal. You look at their lines and their college football lines in the bowl games right now, you'll see abrupt line movement from the opening line to what they are now, and that is a major reason why. So, again, I would be real careful, and until the college football playoffs and the Super Six games they're somewhere around New Year's Day or thereafter, where players usually don't opt out because they're big games, okay? But these minor bowl games, be real careful because you have to do your research on why a line moved one way or the other and who left and what head coach jumped ship for another. Listen, we're talking about college kids that are 18 to 21 years old. Your head coach leaves. Well, what's the big deal? The assistant who's been there all year takes over in an interim basis. Well, it is a big deal.
Yep.
Because that head coach who just left sat in one of those kids' family's living room, if not all of them, and convinced their parents and that kid to come to that school to play for him. Now, the interim coach takes over, and that interim coach is not going to be the head coach going forward. They already named another head coach that will take over after the bowl game. So there's a lot of uncertainty in those kids, and it creates a dilemma. So just keep all that in mind whenever you handicap a college football bowl game, and even more so the minor bowls, not the New Year's Six or whatever you want to label those games as, and not the college football playoffs when there's so much at stake.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. Like I train quarterbacks, and I know a little bit of the recruiting because I talk to players and coaches, and I know what's going on. And what this NIL and this transfer portal, what it's going to really do, it's going to change the tradition of football, of the loyalty to a school, and now it's become free agency, and it's just unfortunately it's become. Okay, I'm sitting at number 3 right now. If I transfer to Pitt, or if I go to Texas, I'm number 2 or I'm number 1, and it's.
Look at what just happened with Ohio State. They lost the kid. Who did they get outbidded by? The kid ended up nixing Ohio State's recruitment because he got $1 million to go somewhere else, and Ohio State only offered him $750,000. Again, on an NIL deal. Yeah. You know what, though, Ron? On the positive note, if those NIL deals keep a kid in school longer and not be so desperate to jump ship to the NFL, how many times have we seen a kid opt out for the NFL because his family is in dire need of money, and then he doesn't make it at the NFL level, has no education, and no money, okay? So if it's going to keep some of these kids in school and head them on the right path and maybe ultimately get them a college degree where they have something to fall back on, I'm all for it. But it definitely affects the landscape of college football. You're exactly right, Ron.
Yeah, and the one thing that people, when you're at a young age, the one thing, and I go back to, when I was young, the thing that I craved the most was structure. And you're giving these guys a daily routine, a structure of going to school, it's like going to work, right? Going to school every day. You're on a schedule. You're structured, and you got to follow your daily routine, because I always say the most important thing in your life besides your family and is your daily routine. And as soon as you lose your daily routine, I've seen guys, friends of mine just go off the ropes. Yeah. But so all right, let's get into the. Do you want to go NFL or do you want to stay in the college path here?
Either or.
All right, let's go to NFL, and let's talk about the Tennessee Titans this week. Man, Tennessee, talk about a team where the wheels are falling off of it really quickly here. Going up to LA to face the Chargers as a 3.5-point dog. Maybe you got a different number. I got 47.5. And going into this one, Tennessee 2-3 in their last 5 games. Same thing with the Chargers, though. But what does Ross the Boss like this weekend between the Titans and the Chargers?
Well, I'm going to look at the total here, Ron, and I'm going to keep it real simple. I mean, the bottom line is one team can't stop the run, meaning the LA Chargers. The other team is terrible against the pass, being the Tennessee Titans. One team has a star running back that's going to be facing an inept run defense, meaning Derrick Henry against the LA Chargers run defense, and a quarterback in Justin Herbert, who's running right now, running a pass offense that's number 3 in the NFL at 273 yards a game, is going to be opposed by a Tennessee pass defense that's number 31 in the NFL this year, allowing 284 yards per game. Ron, I was real shocked to see this, but Tennessee has allowed 300 or more yards passing in 7 of 13 games this year. Oh, wow. You wonder why they're underachieving? There's your main ticket right there. Now, the Chargers, I mentioned they can't stop the run. They're allowing 147 yards per game on the ground. That's number 28 in the NFL. And they're also allowing 5.4 yards per rushing attempt, which is dead last in the NFL. And like I said, the last I checked, Tennessee's got a pretty good running back in Derrick Henry. So I'm seeing Tennessee's going to be able to run the ball very well in this game. It's going to open up some play-action passing opportunities. And I think Justin Herbert easily goes over 300 yards passing in this game. And the LA Chargers defense, by the way, number 28 in scoring defense at 25.1 points per game. Look, Brian, you can make a real strong case here. These are two of the most underachieving teams in football right now, despite both of them having a winning record at this juncture. Tennessee's defense, their last 2, speaking of poor defense, they've allowed 35 and 36 points in their last 2 games. And now also in those 2 losses, they allowed 453 and 428 yards in those defeats against Philadelphia and Jacksonville, of all teams. The Chargers have gone under the total in each of their last 2 contests. That's the 3rd time that's happened this season. However, the Chargers have failed to go under the total in 3 straight games this year. And in the previous 2 times in which they went under the total in 2 consecutive games, they followed that up by going over the total and combined scores of 48 and 57 points in those games. Since 2020, the Tennessee Titans 10-2 to the over on the road whenever the total was 46.5 or greater, which that qualifies here. Also since 2020, Tennessee is 8-1 to the over on the road after a straight-up loss. They lost to Jacksonville last week. Finally, Justin Herbert, 18-10 to the over in his career starts as a favorite. And Ryan Tannehill, since 2018, is 23-13 to the over in his starts on the road. I'm going Tennessee in the LA Chargers game over the total.
Yeah, and you know what? When you look at last week, as a team, I wonder, collectively, if you hit rock bottom when you lost to Jacksonville last year at home. Like,
Yeah.
Jacksonville having a better year than the year before, obviously, but those are games that you got to beat the beatables.
Yeah.
And if you don't beat the beatables, man, you go back to the drawing board and you're okay, like what's going on? But in Tennessee, they gave away their top receiver last year for nothing.
Yeah, that hurt him.
Yeah.
Hurt him very much. But the thing with Tennessee is teams are stacking the box to stop the run and forcing them to beat the pass as a result of what you just said, Ron, because they don't scare anybody vertically. Unfortunately for the Chargers, I mean, they can't stop the run. I don't care how many guys they put in the box. Teams are just jamming it right down their throat. And with a running back the caliber of Derrick Henry, I think they'll have success in that area. And Ryan Tannehill quietly has put up some good numbers passing over the last few weeks, despite Tennessee's struggles. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they've been playing from behind as well. So we'll see. I think we're going to see a high-scoring, entertaining affair here, and I like the over.
Yeah. No. Hey. You remember I forget what week it was. It was the Chargers and Broncos. I think it was like a Sunday night game or something. I said, man, look at these two defenses. They're lights out. But then you look back like, okay, you fooled me. You fooled me, Denver. I thought you had an offense.
Yeah, that's the thing with Denver is their defense is tremendous and their offense is absolutely putrid.
Yeah. All right. So Ross is going to go Tennessee Titans Chargers over 47.5, and we'll see what happens there. All right, Ross. The other game you want to talk about, the Washington State Cougars, Fresno State Bulldogs, and I'd be remiss if I didn't. We talk about the passing of Mike Leach this week. Man, Ross, I'm a big air raid guy in football. Hal Mummy is the godfather of the air raid offense, and Hal Mummy came to Ottawa. I couldn't believe, like, one day I was on Twitter and I said, I wonder, I'm going to take a shot here of Hal Mummy, see if I invite him to Ottawa to a coaches conference, if he would come. And sure enough, he came. I couldn't believe it. Wow. And it was awesome. And we spent the weekend talking air raid.
He had the towel around his shoulder.
He was in air raid mode, man. Yeah, Hal Mummy is a cool cat. I'll just tell you that. Hal Mummy is he's awesome. And we talked about the air raid offense, and then when he was with Mike Leach, and when I saw Mike Leach, it really affected me, because when you follow someone like intensely, like Mike Leach was such a great head coach and offensive mind, like all those air raid guys, Holgerson, Leach, Mummy, like I followed these guys, Brown at West Virginia, and there was like 3 years I felt like a stalker, because every time they would put out something, I want to soak it in like a sponge to learn off those guys. And when I saw that Mike Leach passed away, it was like it just
tragic.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. You look at Mississippi State is going to play their bowl game on January 2nd. You might want to think that they're going to be highly motivated because of the loss of their coach.
Yeah.
And they hired the defensive coordinator already, made him and took the interim tag off and made him the head coach, which solidifies the program a little bit in that regard and gives the kids a peace of mind. So that's something to take into consideration. But yeah, what a tragic loss.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I saw Washington State, I said, you know what, we got to talk about the Pirate right there. So, okay. Fresno State, Ross, -4 is the line against the Cougars. 52.5 is the total. Fresno State winning their last game against Boise. That was the conference game, 28-16. And then Washington State lost to the Huskies, 51-33. Now, going into this bowl game on, I believe this game is played Saturday, right? At 4:30 on Saturday. And
yes.
What are you leaning towards here, Ross?
This is the LA Bowl, the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. I'm waiting for another bowl to be named the Jay Leno Bowl, another bowl to be named the Johnny Carson Bowl, and then probably the kids out there are going, "Who's Johnny Carson?" But like I said earlier when we were discussing college football bowl games, you have to look for teams that are more motivated at this time of year, not necessarily who has the stronger resume or who is the better team on paper, because if you lean in that direction, you would have to go with Washington State in that regard. And then you couple that with the fact that they're an underdog, and the public perception would say that you have to jump all over Washington State. But like Lee Corso says, not so fast, my friends.
Yeah.
Because there's got to be a reason here. And by the way, this line opened with Washington State being a 2.5-point favorite, and now Fresno is a 4-point favorite. So I'm sure they're somewhere in between. There's some transfer portals going on there with Washington State losing some players in that regard, or some players that had opted out to go to the NFL. Having said all that, Washington State comes in with a 7-5 record. They enjoyed a surprisingly good year because they weren't really picked highly in the Pac-12 prior to the season. And you mentioned that 51-33 home loss to Washington. Well, if you stop and think about that, it's a bitter rivalry. And they were 7-4. They were looking to go to 8-4 in a better bowl game than this one. Okay, that's all I can put it as. And no disrespect to the organizers of the LA Bowl, but Washington State would have got a more higher profile game than this one, and they lost that game. And not only lost it, Ron, 51-33, they gave up over 700 yards of total offense to the Washington Huskies. And that was a Washington State team that entered that game. I think they only allowed 400 yards or more on 2 other occasions, and they gave up 700 yards.
Wow.
Got embarrassed by their in-state rival. Now their reward is they go to the LA Bowl, and they're facing a team from the Mountain West Conference. Now, whenever I see matchups between group of 5 conference teams like Fresno against Power 5 conference teams like Washington State, I always look at the motivational factor, and I always look at the line, and I always draw conclusions from there, because at the end of the day, Ron, you can't tell me that Fresno is not going to be the more motivated team in this game.
Right.
You've got a team coming off of a blowout loss against their in-state rival, not only a blowout loss, an embarrassing loss. And you got Fresno State. This is a team that lost their starting quarterback, Jake Haener, who's probably going to be playing on Sunday somewhere in a backup capacity. And they lost him in week 3 against USC. They were 1-2 after that game. They lost their next 2 games to go to 1-4. And lo and behold, everybody wrote them off. What did they do? They rebounded, won 8 straight games, covered 6 of them. Ron mentioned that last game against Boise State. Well, that was the Mountain West Conference Championship game that was played at Boise State. They were an underdog in that contest, and they won 28-16 by a double-digit margin. So, I mean, this is a team playing with a lot of momentum against a team, again, not to beat a dead horse, coming off an embarrassing loss, a team that from a Power 5 conference that's playing a Mountain West Conference team in a minor bowl game. I just think the motivational factor here, combined with the fact of Fresno State being red hot right now, and, nothing more that these kids would like from a Mountain West Conference school is to knock off a Pac-12 opponent and a bowl game. I'm going to lay the 4 here with Fresno State over Washington State, Ron.
And that's the interesting number, 4. Why wasn't it 3, 2.5? They went to 4, right? So I think it's done to avoid people betting the money line, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I have to respectfully disagree with that. I would just say that there's factors there that drove that line up to where it is. I know yesterday was 3.5, so it went to 4, and
3.5 now.
Yeah,
and the money line is 170. So minus 110 or 170. That's a bit of a deterrent right there. But you know what? It's a good play. I like it. Fresno State. Like you said, they won the MAC championship, 9-game win streak, and going in hot. And how motivated are Washington State to go to this game, right? So,
yeah, and the other factor too is that line movement. Where if you look at the opening line in this game, Washington State opened at 2.5. I haven't delved into that. I'm just using the assumption that's not among. First of all, no line is going to move in college football or the NFL 6 points unless there's key players out.
Yeah,
They have to account for. I can almost assure you they've lost several players to the transfer portal once the regular season concluded, and or there's been some players that have opted out for the NFL draft. So something to keep in mind as well.
Yep. No, that's a and I'm gonna piggyback you on your cautious approach to college football this weekend, folks. Less is more, and if you don't know really what going into, you haven't done your research, beer pizza money. That's one of the best advice I could probably give you, because here's the thing: we're in the holiday season. You probably got family over. You're sitting there hungover watching football, and you're saying, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna there's 3 bowl games on today, and you're gonna be attracted to the favorites. And bowl season is a big money maker because they know the betting public is gonna bet favors, right? A lot of favorites.
To your logic too, Ron, is I think the best betting values you're going to find during the bowl season are on lines that have very little to minimal movement.
Yep.
Because there is going to be it's a true line. You know what I mean? There you don't have to account for obstacles such as what I just alluded to several times: transfer portals, opting out for the NFL, head coaching changes, etc.
Yeah. So
and that goes hand in hand where you were just saying it might not be a perfect analogy, but you were saying you're looking for teams that are 6-6 as favorites, 6-6 as underdogs. That's where you find your best betting value. Well, the same thing at the bowl season is right now. If you're finding games that have very little line movement, if any, that's where you could really have a true handicap and really zero in on some betting value.
Absolutely. Yeah, good advice, Ross, before the bowl season. All right, Ross Benjamin, what do you got on deck this weekend for the National Football League and some college bowl games? And you're doing NBA and CBB.
Yeah, so I got the NFL game. I got the total up right now on tonight's game. I'll have 2 plays in the NFL on Saturday. I'm about to post at atsstats.com, and I'll have at least a minimum of 3 games on Sunday. NFL, let me get my records here. Since January 30th of this year, I'm 52-38 with my NFL picks, which is good for 58%. My NFL 10-star top plays, which I give out one of those a week. There was one exception this week where I gave out a Thursday and a Sunday NFL 10-star top play because it was my Thursday night game in a month. And I've gone 12-4 with those selections this year.
Wow.
And if you go back to last year, 23-39 with my last 32. You mentioned college basketball. Since November 17th, I'm 22-12 in college basketball, which is good for 65%. And I'm on an all sports run of 54-40, 57% since November 14th. So a lot of money to be made at atsstats.com, folks. I charge anywhere from 25 to 35 for single games, 25 on my 5-star plays. My 10-star top plays are all $35. Multi-game packages, like 3-game packages, $45. And you got your subscription plans that are up for sale there at atsstats.com, where you'll get huge discounts and are your best values. So, folks, you know what they say about people who hesitate? They lose. So don't hesitate. Get in, spend some money, and make a lot of money.
Yeah, and you're big when when I'm handicapping on a Sunday morning and my phone pings and its customers ask me, has Ross posted his pick yet? Last Sunday it happened, so hey, you know what?
Nice,
yeah, that's awesome. You people
as a site owner and as a handicapper.
Yeah, Yeah, that's awesome. No, thanks, Ross. Hey, good luck this weekend with your college and NFL football picks. And folks, you can get Ross the Boss Benjamin picks each and every day. NFL, college football, college basketball, NBA right here at atsstats.com. And the way you get those picks, once you get to the front page, go to picks, and then you see Ross Benjamin. Just click on it, and it'll take you to his page, and you can get those selections. All right, Ross, have yourself a great weekend. Let's hope Buffalo doesn't go on a 7-game losing streak because you wore the hat today.
Right, exactly. Well, they play Colorado tonight, so that's not a good sign. But anyway, look, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all the viewers out there. I will be back on Thursday, but next Thursday. But in case you missed the show, I just wanted to extend my best wishes during the holiday season. Have fun, but stay safe, folks. Ron, always a pleasure. You have a great weekend as well, my friend. Knock 'em dead.
All right, you too, buddy. Have a great weekend, Ross. All right, that is Ross the Boss Benjamin, and he joins us each and every week right here on the YouTube channel, the Raymond Report. And man, Ross brought his A game like usual, right? Ross brings the pearls, and if you missed the beginning episode, we talked about NBA perception versus reality value. And if you missed it, I highly recommend you go check it out at the beginning. And if you want to see it on the website, go to atsstats.com. And once you get there, if you scroll right down here, look for the betting tips, or you know what, here's a better way to do it. NHL betting right there, or NBA betting, or go to NBA right here. And once you click on NBA, go to this box right there. I call it the NBA Trust Factor Report. And which team can you trust as a favorite, underdog? And I give you a good breakdown of the favorites, underdogs, the ATS straight up. And right here, you'll see the perception of underdogs, the perception of favorites. And it's a pretty good, we had a pretty good discussion about that. So if you missed it, check it out. Thursday Night Football. And if you missed it earlier on the podcast on our YouTube channel, I gave out the Seattle Seahawks tonight, +3. Going into this game, they're getting +3. And I said on my video today, if you're scared of getting a push, then buy the hook, get 3.5. So this way, if it's a field goal game and they don't win, but I like Seattle here tonight. And when you look at since 1983, going back to 1983, when the Seattle Seahawks are at home and they're coming off a home loss as a favorite, they are 13-4-1 against the point spread. So again, don't fall in love with teams, fall in love with numbers, and I love this number here tonight. And Seattle 7-3 straight up in the last 10 head-to-head meetings against the 49ers, 6-4 against the point spread. And I'm going to be taking the Seattle Seahawks tonight on Thursday Night Football. If you're playing the NHL tonight, here's what I got going. I'm going to give you guys my my top 3 plays tonight in the NHL. I like the under in the Dallas-Washington game. That's under 6. I'm going to go Kings Bruins over, and I'm going to take Flyers Devils under the total. And New Jersey hitting their hiccup. Remember, I said if you watch the videos this week, I go, all these top teams, Boston, Vegas, they haven't hit a hiccup yet. New Jersey, I think they got their hiccup. And what I mean hiccup, a bit of a losing streak. So we'll see if that under cashes in tonight. In fact, did you know the Philadelphia Flyers 5-1 against the point spread against A-type teams in the Raymond Report? I saw another good one here. The Seattle Kraken 7-3 on the puck line, but I thought there was a really good number here. I want to share. I think that was it. I think that was the main. The Toronto Maple Leafs, but I'm not laying 1.5. Toronto, I think it was 9-1, 9-2 on the puck line. So all you Leaf fans out there on the puck line, hopefully you cash that out. All right, folks, that is the show today for a Thursday. Thursday. It is December 15th. I'll be back next Thursday with Ross the Boss Benjamin. Right now we're on the weekly schedule until the new year, and then we'll take it from there. But as I always say, shop for value, play those percentages. I'll see you back shortly with another Raymond Report.
Hello again, everybody. Harry Carey from Wrigley Field on a beautiful day for baseball. To be the man, you gotta be the man.
Joe owned the Chiefs.
Owns.
Owns.
I don't know.
Struggling. Can we have fun? You're damn right. I demand that we have fun.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Straight cash, homie.
Holy cow!
It's a dog-eat-dog world, Sammy, and I'm wearing milk-bone underwear.
What the hell's going on out here? Woo! If you smell So Stone Cold said so. Let's go to eat a goddamn snack.